Welcome back to the NRL Punters Weekly Digest. I'm not so much a happy Ben as I am a relieved Ben following Queensland State of Origin Game 3 win and avoidance of a whitewash. And I say relieved because the Queenslanders still lost the series 94 points to 26 on aggregate. But you know what? I'm not going to get into that game because it's going to fire some things inside me. But if you want to hear my thoughts on whether or not Paul Green should be coach of the Maroons next year, look out for that video that I've got coming out this week. In the meantime, this video is going to concentrate on the round 18 preview for this round's matches. But before I get into this video, as per usual, if you like this video, please smash that like button. And if you like this video and you want to stay in the loop of my future content, please give me a subscribe and make sure to turn on your notifications so you can stay in the loop of all that content. Let's get into today's video, starting with my tips from last week. Shortened week last week as a result of State of Origin, only 4 matches played. And of those 4 matches, I tipped 3 out of 4. And the one I dropped was the Raiders. My Canberra Raiders playing the Manly Sea Eagles. I thought that we were going to get thumped. In fact, I tipped Manly to win by 30. But in the end, we got the dub. And I was ecstatic because it was our best performance of the year. We looked great. And this is with players out with Origin duty and also players out injured. So I'm hoping that this can be a platform for us to kind of build something towards the back end of the season and leading into a finals campaign. Hopefully. Let's get into this week's matches, starting with the Friday night game. And look, before I do the rundown of these matches, I should disclaim that some of these fixtures were moved around as a result of the COVID outbreaks in New South Wales. And look, I dare say soon to be Melbourne. I'm a little bit worried about that Melbourne game, whether or not that's going to go ahead there, but I guess we shall see. So whilst the venues for this rounds of matches have been at this point confirmed, you never know what could happen on a day-to-day basis. If Queensland gets a massive outbreak, who knows? Maybe we won't have a round of football, but let's hope that we do, and let's go on with the assumption that there will be some football this week. On Friday night, the Titans take on Parramatta at Cbus Super Stadium from 6 p.m, which is a ground that's going to host a lot of games this round. Both teams had the bye last week as a result of State of Origin. In terms of team changes for both sides, Titans, no changes from the last match that they played prior to the bye round. And for the Eels, huge inclusion. Reid Marnie returns from injury, which pushes Joey Lussick to the reserves. In terms of the betting stakes for this particular game, in the head-to-head market, you'll get $2.60 for the Titans and $1.48 for the Eels. In the anytime try scorer market, I picked out 3 anytime try scorers, which is what I'm going to do on a weekly basis for each round going forward. I did do it last week, and I think in the last video, my last preview video that is, I did advise that I'm going to be dropping those best bets videos that I do each week and just incorporating my bets into my preview videos. So here we go. Anytime try scorers, I've got Micah Sevo at $1.55, Wonga Blake at $2.30, and then Patrick Herbert, if you fancy him for the Titans, $2.70. My tip in this game is the Eels by 14. And hence I've gone with the margin bet of Parramatta to win 13 plus, which is paying $2.70. Second Friday night game, we see the Seagulls take on the Dragons from, again, Cbus Super Stadium. In terms of form, obviously the Seagulls went down to the Raiders last week, 16-30. I mean, a large part of that was to do with the fact that the Raiders were defending like the Raiders of old, and they really kept the Seagulls down there and got a lot of repeat sets off some really deft kicking from the likes of Matt Frawley, who's, I think, only playing maybe like his second or third first grade game for the Raiders. He was outstanding for them. Obviously, the Seagulls were without Daly Cherry Evans and Tom Trbojevic, but even still, I thought they would have played a little bit better than they would have. And look, that's got to be alarming signs for the Seagulls. it's been said so many times before, they can't win without Tommy Turbo. And I think they can't win without Tommy Turbo and DCE. So going forward, in light of the possibility of future injuries to those guys and their other top line stars, they might have to find something else. They're going to have to find that way out of jail if they find themselves in that kind of precarious injury situation. The Dragons had the bye last week, so really no form to go off for them other than the game they played the week before, obviously. In terms of team changes for the Seagulls, Josh Schuster returns for Manly, which is a huge boost for them. He slots into the back row, which pushes Carl Lawton, who's been great starting in the back row, pushes him to the bench, which means that Cade Cust and Jack Koziewski drop to the reserves. For the Dragons, please refer to the team list that I've made up for you on screen, because there are just too many changes to name as a result of the infamous barbecue gate, COVID party, whatever you want to call it, that went down and subsequently saw the sacking of Paul Vaughan from the club. In the head-to-head market, you'll get $1.13 for the Seagulls and $5.75 for the Dragons. I think that's probably more than fair in the odds market. I don't see the Dragons winning this one. In fact, I see them losing by about 24 points. And if you want to get on Manly 13 plus, you'll get $1.50 for them. Not really great odds, but maybe whack that into a multi with maybe one of these anytime try scorers. I've got Tommy Turbo at $1.70. I think he's a special to score a try. Jason Saab at $1.48. Another guy who's just been notching up the tries this season. He's got a ridiculous amount. And Josh Schuster on return, $2.60. I like him there. First Saturday afternoon game comes to us, again, from Cbus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast, where the Raiders take on the Cronulla Sharks, a game that I'll obviously watch with a lot of interest. Canberra last start winners against the Seagulls, as we discussed earlier. They were outstanding, the Raiders, and it kind of makes you wonder, where was this before? Ricky Stewart came out after the game and spoke about the camaraderie of the side and the fact that the unit's always been tight. And he basically said, look, sometimes as a coach, you're gonna butt heads with your players, and these are players that you love. You've got a great relationship with, just like any kind of relationship can have its issues, whether it's a friend-to-friend relationship, like a family member to family member or what have you. You're going to have these times where you don't agree on things. But he said, I always had my players, best interests at heart, and I just want to get the best out of them. And he definitely did that with Joe Tarpany, who was on fire. He ran for 200 plus meters. He looked outstanding, still coming from the bench, but I kind of like him coming from the bench because not only does he give you that impact, and look, I know he's a starting player. He's an international. He'd be one of the first pick for New Zealand any day of the week, but you get that impact coming off the bench, and also it makes him a bit hungrier for that starting berth. But he was outstanding. Matt Frawley, as I mentioned earlier, just out of nowhere, outstanding kicking game and got us a lot of repeat sets. Eventually, it was just, Manly defended well, but, when you're defending 5-6 back-to-back sets, eventually, you're going to capitulate. It's just normal. It happens to all the best teams. For the Sharks, they beat the Warriors 20-12. They did enough to win the contest. It could have really gone down to the wire, but the Warriors squandered an opportunity in like the 69th minute, and they did enough to win the game. Sharks are in decent form. I was at that game at Suncorp against the Broncos a couple of weeks back, and look, even though they went down that week, they looked really good. They looked really good. In the head-to-head market, you get $2.25 for the Raiders and $1.65 for the Sharks. I'm a little surprised at those odds, but I would understand if the betting agencies don't have much faith in the Raiders at this point in time. Yes, they're, I guess, technically speaking, in form as a result of that win last week, but there's really not enough of a sample size for them to have a confidence to give those short odds away. But really good odds if you like the Raiders to win this game, which I do, at $2.25. In the anytime try scorer market, Xavier Savage at $2.30. I can't wait to see this kid get in some open pasture. He had a couple of moments last week where he was, I think there might have been a couple of ankle taps there, and the defense just got to him before he made that clean break. But holy hell, when that guy gets into some clear space, you're gonna just see the afterburners that this guy's got. And I think if he gets in some space, he's going to score a try. Seb Chris, one of my favorite Raiders at the moment, $2.40. Guy gives you everything defensively you could possibly ask from him for each week, and a big threat in attack. And then for the Sharks, Connor Tracy at $2.05, an outside back, which I like a lot. Very, very dependable first grade outside back. In the margin market, I'm tipping the Raiders to win by 8. So if you want to get on the 1 to 12, you'll get $3.50 there, which I think are really good odds. At 5:30 p.m. from Queensland Country Bank Stadium, we've got the Cowboys taking on the Roosters. Both sides played last week. Cowboys went down to the Bunnies 18-46. They started really well. They were up 12-2 at one point. But once South started clicking into gear, it was just all one-way traffic. And they never looked back. And they went on a ridiculous run. What was it? Like a 44-6 run, which is ridiculous. Roosters last week just narrowly edged out the Bulldogs. A Bulldogs side which hasn't really been consistent this season, but has definitely shown some glimpses, as they did in this game, that they've got a nucleus for something that can work in the future. From the Bulldogs' perspective, what I liked most about them was, Lachlan Lewis, which for mine is a player that reminds me a lot of Terry Campese, which is that was nearly a disaster. Anyway, Terry Campese, which is a player that's very close to my heart, is one of my all-time favorites Canberra Raiders players. Bigger body. He's a 5'8" that could just easily play lock. He's got a lot of doggedness in defense. He's a tough player, and he's got some creativity there. Scored 2 tries. They're on the improve, but from the Roosters' perspective here, I've gone too much into the Bulldogs here. From the Roosters' perspective, Sam Walker had another good performance. Unfortunately, we're probably going to remember this game more for what he did at the back end of the game instead of what he did during the game, where stat-wise, he had 2 try assists, 2 line break assists, 3 goals. As you may already know, he ran the ball the opposite side. He ran the opposite side with 20 seconds to go in the game to basically run the ball out dead. And Trent Robinson didn't like it. You could see visibly in the coach's box. I don't have an issue with it. The guy's just icing the game. It was a small margin there. There's 6 points in the game. He wants to make sure that the Bulldogs definitely can't score, and he did that. So I'm fine with that. In the head-to-head market here, you'll get $3.10 for the Cowboys and $1.36 for the Roosters. I think that's more than fair. In the anytime try scorer market, Joseph Mano, if you like him like I do, $2.15 you'll get. Teddy backing up from Origin, $2.10. And Murray Taulagi, $1.95. I really like this kid. He's also huge. He's huge. Now, my tip in this game is the Roosters to win by 10. So if you get on the margin betting, Sydney 1 to 12, you will get $3, which I think is a good bet. Although I think the short odds favourite is the 13+, which you can understand. Last Saturday night game for this round is the Storm versus the Newcastle Knights from Amy Park. So at this stage, this is in Melbourne. Hopefully there's no changes to the venue as a result of some increased COVID restrictions in Melbourne as of today, I believe. Both sides had the bye last week, so really no track record of form to go off as such. In terms of team changes for these sides, all the Storm Origin reps are booked to back up this week. We shall see. For the Knights, Tyson Frizzell and Daniel Saifidi come back to the side, which pushes Suaso Su to the reserves. And Kalen Ponga is also booked to back up from Origin. I just realised that I forgot the team changes for the Cowboys and Roosters game. But look, it was on the screen for you. So if you can't read, then I really can't help you. Right? That's what I make the graphics up for. So you don't have to listen to my spiel. You can read it for yourself. In the head-to-head market, you'll get $1.09 for the Storm, which is almost as short as they've been all season, possibly the shortest they've been. And look, I mean, they are favourites to win this game, but Newcastle are in a little bit of form. They've got their stars back. I would have given them at least $1.50. I would have thought would have been fair, because the Knights are paying $7. That's totally ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Am I expecting them to win? No, but they're not $7 underdogs. Anyway, do better, bookies. In the anytime try scorer markets for Justin Olam, $2.10. I like him for a try, as well as the Fox, $1.50. And then for the Knights, I've got Kalen Ponga, who is outstanding for the Maroons in Origin 3 at $2.90. I'm tipping this one to be a close one, and I think the Storm will win by 7. In the margin betting, if you want, Melbourne 1-12, $3.50, which I think is worth a flutter. First Sunday night game comes to us from Suncorp Stadium. There's a couple of Suncorp games on the Sunday. Warriors versus Panthers. The Warriors last week, they lost to the Roosters, as we discussed earlier. Oh, sorry, not the Roosters, to the Sharks. They went down 12-20. They had an opportunity to win at the death. They didn't take that opportunity. And now they take on what you would assume would be a refreshed Penrith Panthers side, albeit without their star halves in Luai and Cleary, but still a very, very dangerous side with Matt Burton and Tyrone May in the halves. In terms of team changes for the Warriors, Josh Curran replaces Ben Murdoch-Masila on the interchange bench. And for the Panthers, there are a bunch of changes. Please refer to the team list for those changes. In the head-to-head market, you'll get $3.32 for the Warriors and $1.32 for the Panthers. In the anytime try scorer stakes, Charlie Staines, $1.62. I believe... No, he's not playing fullback this week. Sorry. I should know that. I wrote these notes up. No, he's playing on the wing, but I still think he's a special for a try. He's a freak in that department. Brent Naden at $2.40. Someone else who I think will score a try. And then a little bit of a roughie here, but he's someone who likes to find the try line. And when he's 5 to 10 metres out, he's near impossible to stop. Viliamu Kikau at $2.80. My tip in this game is Penrith to win by 12, and if you want to get on Penrith 1-12, you'll get $2.90 for that. Broncos, Tigers, also from Suncorp Stadium. Now, I haven't looked into this, but if you're in Brisbane and you want to see a couple of games of football, it might be worth seeing if they've got any kind of double-header deals going on, because if you want to watch both those games, you've got, a good 4 hours worth of footy there to dip into. Although I dare say by the time the Brisbane game's over, if you're drinking, you may not have any legs left. All right, Broncos, Tigers. Both sides had the bye last week. In terms of team changes, Brisbane's Origin stars are named to back up. Corey Pay has been named on the interchange bench at the expense of Ethan Bullimore. And for the Tigers, bunch of changes. Please refer to the team list. In the head-to-head market, you'll get $1.65 for the Bronx and $2.25 for the Tigers. Anytime try scorer market, Tessie New, $2.05. He scored a try or two a couple of weeks back. Corey Oates, $1.75. A guy who, on his day, one of the best wingers in the competition, but he's kind of been out of the loop in terms of first grade wing position for a little while now, as he went on his sabbatical to find himself as a back rower, which he obviously never found himself. $1.75 for Corey Oates. Adam Dewey, $3.20. Love that guy wherever he's playing for the Tigers. Always one of their best. My tip in this game is a close game. I'm tipping the Broncos by 6. I'm confident they'll get the job done based on what I saw against the Sharkies 2 weeks ago. Tessie New gives them something different at fullback, and I think it's working for them, at least for now. If you want to get on Brisbane in the margin market, $1 to $12, you'll get $3 for them. And our last game of the round, comes to us from Cbus Super Stadium. Again, South Sydney Rabbitohs take on the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Both teams played last week in that bye round. And for the Rabbitohs, they won that one 46-18, and they were absolutely outstanding when they clicked into gear. Alex Johnston and Tane Milne both had hat tricks, which is just ridiculous. But we've had a few of those games this year where we've had multiple players have had hat tricks for the one side. I think it's just the nature of the competition. And look, if I'm being honest, I expect that next season that's going to kind of even keel a little bit with players adjusting their rosters to where they haven't already, or their rosters weren't ready, adjusting their rosters to the new, faster style of rugby league in the NRL. For the Bulldogs, as I discussed earlier, they went down to the Roosters by 6 points. Trent Barrett would have to be happy with how they went, but probably also very frustrated that they just couldn't ice out that victory. And you'd have to think he'd be buoyed by Lachlan Lewis's performance, which I discussed earlier, because now he's got another legitimate hat in the ring, let's hope for the Bulldogs' sake, in terms of halves that will ultimately complement Matt Burton. So he's got a few options there. I guess the one thing he needs to be wary of is not partnering two 5'8s together in the halves for the Bulldogs. I think Lachlan Lewis is a genuine 5'8, but hey, what would I know? All right, I'm just a fan with an opinion like the rest of you. Okay, so in terms of team changes, the South's Origin stars are expected to back up, which I've had like 3 coffees today, man. I'm just wired, man. I'm so wired. I have to relax, you know. Can I take a breath? Oh, let me take a breath. And I'm good. Okay, so the South Origin stars have been named to back up from State of Origin Game 3 in this one, which means that Blake Tafe, Braden Burns, and Peter Mamazolas return to the reserves. And for the Bulldogs, Siu Manafanai returns from suspension and has been named on the interchange bench, with Ofahiki Ogden making way for him to the reserves. In the head-to-head market, you will get a measly $1.03 for the South Sydney Rabbitohs and $11 for the Dogs. Look, the Dogs are not expected to win this game, but I think that those odds are really, really insulting. I mean, they put up a fight against the Roosters side last week. They only went down by 6 points. I think they're going to get beaten by margin, but, you know, let's show some respect here, bookies. Show some bloody respect. These are the Dogs of war. You know, at the moment, they might be the puppies of war, but look, they're still dogs of war, ultimately, right? In the anytime try scorer market, you'll get $1.85 for Campbell Graham. For Damien Cook, you'll get $3.20. And my smoky, Keon Kulua Matangi, $2.80 for him. He is a tearaway. I think that's worth a bet. My tip in this game is the Rabbitohs to win by 18 points. And if you like that 13 plus margin for the Rabbitohs, you'll get $1.24 for that. That's all I've got for you this week. Please look out for my Should Paul Green Coach the Maroons in State of Origin Series 2022 video coming out soon. And yeah, I'll see you hopefully in that video or the next.